Neighbors around the coastal bend are still cleaning up after last week's storm. We have the latest on debris cleanups for the city of Bishop and Alice.
Plus, we have the latest on 2 teens who were arrested over the weekend after a deadly shooting. What police tell us led to the shooting and details about who was the victim.
And we're giving you a live look from my favorite shot. This is the What a Skycam looking at the old and new Harbor Bridge as well as that sunrise in the background. We're going to be checking in with Master Meteorologist Stephanie Lauber for a look at the forecast plus the roadways. It is Monday, May 12th. Your Chris 6 sunrise starts right now.
Good morning, folks. Happy Monday and welcome to Chris 6 Sunrise. You're waking up with the Hoffmans. I'm Michelle Hoffman.
And I'm Brian Hoffman. It was a great weekend. A little bit of rain that we had. We went out to visit Port A, but just spectacular. I hear that it's going to heat up even further. We're going to be checking in with Master Meteorologist Stephanie Lauber. Good morning,
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, a lot to talk about in your weather on the 6s because, boy, it is going to be a hot week ahead. How hot are we talking? Find out on the 6s. Right now, we've got to talk about traffic, getting up and out the door. Pretty deceiving because it feels nice and cool outside, doesn't feel hot at all. And you know what? We've got a good commute so far for that Monday morning ride out the door. No issues between Portland and downtown Corpus Christi. Coming down 37 or across 44. Also going to be an equally easy commute so far. No holdups to tell you about. And looking at Corpus Christi at large, from the Bay Area down to the south side, whether you're taking Ocean Drive, SPID, Saratoga, the Crosstown Expressway, everybody's rolling smoothly here all the way on into the Bluff, where the approach to NAS Corpus Christi this morning has been pretty easy as well. Nothing to really slow traffic down along NAS Drive there. Waldron Road, Flower Bluff Drive also looking good this morning. And for those who are going to be making that commute out across the JFK Causeway, Park Road 22 and up 361, we are still looking good. No holdups to tell you about so far this morning. We hope to keep it that way. It is a Monday after all, but we've got to focus our attention on that heat. So I'll break down very hot near record temperatures that we're expecting right here in the coastal bend this week, coming up in your weather on the 6s ahead.
Thanks, Steph. Appreciate it. 2 teenagers have been arrested, and that's following a fatal shooting that happened over the weekend. It all happened around 12:30 Sunday morning near Sherrill Drive. And when officers first arrived, they found a 37-year-old man dead from a gunshot wound. So according to detectives, a group of men began arguing when one of them showed a handgun. The men fought over the gun, and during the fight, the victim was shot. 17-year-old Michael Gonzalez and 17-year-old John Salazar were arrested for murder and transported to the city detention center for booking.
A Port Aransas man was arrested following a fatal accident involving a golf cart. It happened Saturday near Beach Marker K. 61-year-old Heather Miller of Port Aransas, the driver of the golf cart, was pronounced dead at the scene. 41-year-old George Behrman of Port Aransas, the driver of the car, was arrested and charged with intoxication manslaughter.
Well, the last living American hostage, Eden Alexander, believed to be held in Gaza, is finally coming home. President Trump formally announced on his Truth Social platform that Hamas is set to release Alexander. Trump writing in part, quote, "I am grateful to all those involved in making this monumental news happen," end quote. The president also writing that he hopes Alexander's release signifies a step towards ending the war between Israel and Hamas. Alexander has been in Hamas captivity for 583 days. He could be freed as soon as today.
Senator Chris Van Hollen is expected to appear at a forum at the Center for American Progress today. The Maryland Democrat recently traveled to El Salvador to meet with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the man who the Trump administration admitted to accidentally deporting. Van Hollen is expected to the Trump administration's alleged violations of due process rights. He's also expected to discuss a path forward for those fighting back against the Trump administration.
Well, the Catholic Church's new leader, Pope Leo XIV, is set to meet with journalists today. Over the weekend, Pope Leo gave his first Sunday blessing since taking over the pontificate and offering a formal address to the cardinals where he told them he planned to continue the work of Pope Francis. He identified AI as one of the most critical matters facing humanity. Today, the media will have a first chance to ask the new pope about his priorities.
Here at home, the City of Alice Solid Waste Department will start picking up debris from last week's storm today. Brush crews will be out working from Highway 44 or Front Street South to Cecilia Street. Once finished, they will work the area between South Reynolds and South Cameron. Additional crews will be sent out to areas as needed to remove roadway hazards.
And in Bishop, storm debris pickup will start today. Neighbors are being asked to put their debris out there on the curb for pickup. Please make sure that all limbs and brush are smaller than 4 feet long. Tree trunks must be cut no longer than 2 feet long. The 6-yard limits will not be enforced this round.
And if you plan to be cleaning up some of that debris, make sure that you are taking breaks indoors because it is going to be a hot one and we don't want anybody falling ill to heat-related illness. So it may not seem like it's going to be a hot one from what we're seeing outdoors right now and what we're feeling when we step out the door, but the fact that we're cooler this morning, we're going to be able to heat up later this afternoon because of that lack of humidity so far. So let's give you the wide view from the Whataburger Skycam. We like to call it the Whata Skycam, a beautiful sunrise taking place right now. And 6:06 is your time. So taking a look at conditions in your neighborhood. Here's how things are shaping up. We're looking at 50s and 60s, a lone 70 on the map here, 73 for Port Aransas this morning, but a lot of our inland neighbors dealing with that 50, 57 for Hebbronville, 59 at the airport here in Corpus Christi, 58 in Alice. Generally calm winds. Where we do have a little bit of movement, it's coming from the west. That is part of the reason why we have such dry winds in place. But going through this week, the heat is going to be heating up and our humidity will slowly make a return too, kind of amplifying that hot weather. But all in all, the dryness this morning is helping us out. We had some tricky spots. Alice was down to 6 miles visibility when we started their newscast at 5 a.m. It's now back up to 9. We're looking good. 8 in Rockport and everyone else. Pretty much A+ for that visibility. So where do we go from here? We're looking at uninterrupted sunshine. That's going to take us through the 60s, 70s, and eventually the 80s around lunchtime. Still not a whole lot of wind by that point, but the second half of the day offers us a warm-up, taking us from the 80s to the 90s. If only briefly, the lower 90s still going to be feeling hot out there, so please keep in mind, we are warming up through this week. This is the benchmark. We're starting here, but we are going to be warming up with temperatures briefly reaching those lower 90s. Our winds become more onshore, and that east wind flow is going to allow that humidity to come back into the mix. So just for context, we're starting our afternoon, this Monday afternoon off in the lower 90s, but usually that's already something we see heading into June. May is normally a middle to upper 80s kind of thing. June is where we start seeing those numbers start with 9. And we're just getting started. Our weather is going to feel more like July into August by the time we head on into the middle of the week. So check it out. Today, heat risk is going to be a 1 out of 4. Not too big of a deal, something to be mindful of. It's not a 0, but wow, tomorrow we picked that up pretty quickly. A lot more orange on this map. 2 out of 4 moderate heat risk. And by Wednesday, we are already topping out the scale for extreme inland portions of South Texas into the brush country with 4 being that purple color there, extreme heat risk for a lot of McMullen County. So please be careful with whatever plans you have in place for that sweltering heat. Here's some tips to help you beat the heat. Of course, slow down, avoid the strenuous activity, and you want to stay hydrated. Today is Monday, and you probably need a very big coffee, energy drink, whatever your cup of tea is, so to speak. Make sure you're pairing that with a huge glass of water to keep you hydrated. Take frequent breaks if you're working outside, whether that's hopping in the work truck and running the AC. And of course, checking on kids, pets, and the elderly. Make sure they have a way to stay cool as well. We'll talk about that 7-day forecast ahead.
Next up, Republicans have released some of the pieces for President Trump's, quote, big, beautiful bill. Coming up on Sunrise Scripps News Group, Nathaniel Reed will join us and tell us what's next.
You're watching Chris 6, part of the Scripps News Group.
Welcome back, folks. Over the weekend, Republicans released some of the aforementioned biggest pieces to President Trump's, quote, big, beautiful bill. That includes tax changes and child tax credits starting next year.
But there are some things missing from the bill, including President Trump's signature campaign promises. Scripps News Group Nathaniel Reed joins us live now this morning to talk about it. Good morning, Nathaniel. So can you tell us what's next for this so-called big, beautiful bill, and what could the proposed changes mean for our wallet?
Yeah, morning, Michelle and Brian. Well, this is just a draft that they've released, but this is the most that we've seen from Republicans' negotiating efforts behind the scenes with the White House and across Capitol Hill in a very long time. And what we understand is what is, at least in this preliminary draft, what's in and what's out. So what's in, an increase to the current standard deduction by $1,000 for most individuals who file, $2,000 for couples, also an increase to the child tax credit for the next several years. That means that you could feel this relief in your wallet by next tax season. That being said, and as you previewed, there's a lot of the pieces of President Trump's campaign promises. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security benefits. They're not in this bill. That doesn't mean that they won't be added overall, but at the same time, they will not be included for now. And Republicans have struggled to find cuts, spending cuts, or areas to try and make up the deficit that they're losing by putting forward these massive tax cuts. There was one possibility floated that some of the highest earners in this country could see a higher tax rate. That's something that President Trump asked House Speaker Mike Johnson to include in this overall package. But Republican leaders last week telling President Trump on television they weren't comfortable with raising taxes on anyone as part of this bill. Take a listen.
Well, I don't want to see taxes go up on anybody, Joe. I mean, we're all about lowering taxes, not raising taxes. But I do think the president, he's not a conventional president. People didn't vote for a conventional president, and I think his policies reflect that.
How often do you talk to the speaker?
All the time.
Is he going to go along with this, raising the higher rate, you think? I heard he was pushing back, and
yeah, I mean, I don't like.
President sounds meh.
I don't, and I'm not saying nobody. I don't think anybody's endorsing that at this point, Joe.
And again, while those tax changes are not in this package, that possibility of raising the highest tax rate, it could theoretically be added along with some of President Trump's campaign promises. Republicans, though, not making the large cuts to Medicaid and SNAP benefits that were once thought possible and that were warned by Democrats, instead adding some work requirements to Medicaid in order to try and bring down the eligibility for those programs. Republicans have often maintained that they believe that there's a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse in those programs. But Democrats coming out with a late-night report from the Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office last night saying that they believe that according to this GOP tax plan, 8.6 million people will lose their health care coverage on Medicaid over the next decade as a result of some of these changes.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for your information and your time today, Nate.
Yeah, very insightful as always, sir. Looking forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you.
We are looking at a beautiful start to the day from the CCAC camera out at Snoopy's. A beautiful sunrise upon us and not a lot of texture on the Laguna, so we know that there's not a lot of wind this morning, but winds will pick up by the middle of the week. Something that'll pick up first, the heat. Yes, the temperature is going to be something we focus on for this first half of the week, but especially into the middle of the week. We're talking record-breaking numbers on our 7-day forecast. So we'll talk about it, but right now, here's another view of that beautiful sunrise coming from the Wada Sky Cam, as we like to call it. Whataburger Field looking beautiful for the start of our Monday. 6:16 your time right now, and your weather on the 6s. Kicks off with a bit of a deceiving start. Temperatures are feeling nice and cool, especially for a lot of our inland neighbors who are enjoying 57 in Hebronville, 56 in Beeville, 59 here in Corpus Christi at the airport. And the warm spot, Port A, reporting 73 for that temperature right now. And generally calm winds, we have a little bit of shaking and moving. It's generally coming from a westerly direction, but that will change just this afternoon. So overall, we're pretty dry out there, and our visibility reflects that, showing no issues out there on the roadways for the weather's part anyways. But heading through this morning, yeah, we are going to heat up rather quickly, getting to those middle 80s by lunchtime. Not a whole lot of wind in the forecast, but look at the second half of the day and how quickly we heat up, getting to those lower 90s. This is already warm for this time of the year. Usually May takes us through those middle to upper 80s. It's June where we start to see our average temperature around 90 degrees. We're already going to be in the lower 90s, so this is warmer than average already. This is our benchmark. This is where we're starting for the week, so hold on to your horses because we are really going to see things pick up. Winds, by the way, that wind direction will shift a bit more easterly and bring in more humidity, but because we're starting off on a dry note, it allows our temperatures to start off cool the way it is now and jump to those much higher temperatures during the afternoon. So this is going to be a weather pattern through the middle of the week that is more reminiscent of July, August than May, June. In fact, we will be challenging record high temperatures this week, so heat risk is top of mind. Today, low 1 out of 4, but heading into tomorrow, we pick that up to a 2 out of 4 with the orange color spreading across much of the map. And even into Wednesday, extreme inland portions of South Texas into the brush country will be looking at a 4 out of 4. Extreme heat risk shown there in purple. So here's a look at the records we will be challenging today. I don't think we'll break the record high, but we're going to come very close to it here in Corpus Christi. I'm forecasting 93 degrees. The record is 94, set back in 2017. And this time last year, we had a hot stretch. So I think we're going to actually blow that out of the water tomorrow. 96 for the forecast high, the record to beat 93. And on Wednesday, a forecast high of 96. And that record to beat is 97. So it'll be close to it. But here's a look at that 7-day forecast where things are going to keep heating up through the end of the week. Stay cool, everybody.
Thanks, Steph. We always keep it cool around here. Hey, coming up on Sunrise, before you head out the door, to start out the week, I have a look at those gas prices around the coastal bend to save you a couple shillings.
You're watching Chris 6, part of the Scripps News Group.
Welcome back, folks. It is that time once again. I'm tracking gas prices all around the coastal bend for you, as well as the price fluctuations all across the country, saving you that extra little bit of cash. It can really add up in the long run. Let's start with a look at the national prices. According to Gas Buddy, national average is $3.08. That is actually down 4 cents since Friday. Hey, good news there. What about the Lone Star State? Well, we are sitting at $2.69 as the average, also down that one by 5 cents since Friday. But hey, we can do better here in the coastal bend. Top 3 cheapest prices. So third place goes to Valero on Morgan Avenue, $2.51. HEB on Alameda Street takes second place at $2.49. And then nearly all of the gas stations, and I'm serious, nearly all of them that I looked at, we're looking at $2.44. So if you're in Flower Bluff and you see a more expensive price, maybe drive down the road a little bit. For our Portland friends, let's check on in. HEB, that is $2.61. But hey, if you're able to head up to Rockport to the Circle K, that price is $2.32. But hey, all of our island friends, all of the stations look the exact same out there, sitting at $2.59. So fill her up, and here is some traffic.
Can confirm I filled up on the island yesterday, 259. So at least if you're going to be stopping for a task like that this morning, you get to enjoy this beautiful sunrise. This is what we're seeing from the CCAC camera out at Snoopy's. A beautiful start to the day. So if you'll be joining these busy bees heading up and over the JFK Causeway, looks like a picturesque commute. We'll start off with a look at the roadways out here, where 361, Park Road 22, and the JFK Causeway are no problem for drivers heading into the Bluff now. The approach to NAS Corpus Christi is also a breeze. No issues to report. Along Waldron Road, Flower Bluff Drive, starting to see the usual activity on Waldron Road. That's all we have to report out here by the Bluff. Moving into town now, from the south side up to the Bay Area, all of the major thoroughfares are problem-free. That includes that interchange up the crosstown to the 37 interchange, where it's a little busy. Nothing really to write home about. We don't see any backups onto the crosstown, so that is good, all things considered. And if you're going to be one of those folks taking the ride between Portland and downtown Corpus Christi, 181 is also without delay. So as you head out, make sure you stay safe and you drive safe. That's a look at your traffic report. Your weather on the 6s is next.
Now, weather on the 6s.
It's always nice when we get to spoil you with a sunrise on Sunrise. So that's the view we're showing you. Twilight looking gorgeous here from the WADA Skycam. And you know what? We can see the silhouette of cars moving up and over the Harbor Bridge just fine too. So a beautiful start to this Monday morning. The commute's looking good. How's that forecast shaping up? Because right now it feels great outside, but we're talking about some near record heat this week, and you need to keep an eye on kids, pets, and the elderly over the next couple of days because they are most susceptible to heat-related illness. If you were out at the air show this weekend, you know exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of folks were succumbing to some of that heat out that way. So let's keep in mind that our temperatures are going to be very hot this week, actual air temperatures. And once we factor in a little bit of humidity, that's going to get tough for some folks. So it's a little deceiving when we're starting out with conditions that look like this. Have the wide view for yourself. Temperatures in the 50s for many inland neighborhoods. That includes Corpus Christi, 59. The temperature here, 66 in Rockport is feeling warm, 62 in Kingsville, 67 in the Bluff at NAS Corpus Christi, and the warmest temperature of all, 73 at Port Aransas. So with very little movement in the wind, not all that much moisture. We're looking pretty good. Alice now reporting a drop in that visibility of 1.5 miles. That may be a very local issue there by the sensor. Everybody else is reporting an easy ride up and out the door, but so far it's been a dry morning. So let's take a closer look at the Chris 6 Neighborhood Weather Network on the south side, where temperatures are feeling pretty fresh. This is almost what we might consider sweater weather, but we are going to warm up from here. 65 the temperature off Sandy Creek Townhome, 67 off San Benito Drive, 64 for Garden Court, and we're missing our temperature across the Oso Creek at Southampton, but equally cool across the coastal bend, including the south side. So we'll be the opposite of that later today, warming up quickly this morning. We'll still have a bit of a west influence in our wind. That's a dry direction. When we have drier air, we can see a bigger difference between the morning temperatures and the afternoon temperatures because there is less for the sun to be heating up. That said, we'll get to those middle 80s by lunchtime. The second half of the day is where we really shine, pushing those temperatures to the lower 90s. A quick run at 93 is, I think, what we'll see here in Corpus Christi. And by then, our winds will be a bit more onshore, having an east influence, picking up around 10 miles per hour. But to give you some context, lower 90s for highs today, that's where we're starting. And for May, that's already warm. Normally, we see those temperatures in those middle to upper 80s. It's June where we start seeing the 90s. And you know what? It's not until August where we start seeing those middle 90s. How does this week sound? It's going to be a hot one for all of us. So that heat risk is less of a concern today. 1 out of 4. Tomorrow, we pick that up to 2 out of 4 in the orange area. So that's most of the coastal bend. And even on Wednesday, extreme heat risk, 4 out of 4 shown in purple for the brush country. So please keep in mind whatever activities you have going on today that might be outside. We need to take those breaks indoors because we'll be smashing records here in Corpus Christi, it seems. Today, just shy of that record, 94 set back in 2017. On Tuesday, we'll beat the record handsomely, and then Wednesday we'll be challenging it again. So as our temperatures rise to the middle 90s and humidity comes back, it will feel even warmer. Please make sure you're checking in on kids, pets, and the elderly. Buckle up. We are going to see hotter weather. 97 degrees forecast for this Thursday.
Now, say hello to your neighbors. This is your Chris 6 News Sunrise Shoutouts.
Hello, Chris 6 Sunrise team. We're the Purple Door in the Central neighborhood, and we want to wish our neighbors across the coastal bend a great morning and a great day.
We really do appreciate everything they do for our community, so we want to wish you guys too over at the Purple Door a great morning and a great day as well. And folks, if you want to send us your own shout out video, all you have to do is scan the QR code that you see right there on your screen or go to our website, christv.com.
This is Coastal Bend History. Sponsored by Oak Creek Homes.
I'm Andy Lascano, and we're at the bluff near the balustrade, and this fountain, which is known as the Queen of the Sea, and we've mentioned it in several previous Coastal Bend history reports because a woman who was instrumental in its creation also happened to be the city's first historian. H.R. Sutherland was born in Nova Scotia in 1826 and moved to the United States 15 years later, where he worked as a surveyor. He was working on a project in Alabama when the Civil War broke out, so he joined the Confederate Army and rose to the rank of captain. In May of 1866, he married Miss Mary McCrae of Selma, Alabama. She was 16. The couple moved to Corpus Christi in 1876 and had 2 children. One of them, a daughter who died in a drowning accident, and a son, Hugh R. Sutherland, Jr., who became a prominent attorney and the county judge in Corpus Christi. H.R. Sutherland died July 4th, 1906 at the age of 80, leaving his fortune to Mary, who became one of the city's most influential ladies, involving herself in numerous civic projects and dedicating her time to many worthy causes in her church, First Methodist, and the city. She was instrumental in raising funds for the construction of the memorial fountain called Queen of the Sea by Pompeo Capini at the foot of the bluff. Mary was also a founding member of the Old Bayview Cemetery Association, which was formed in 1895 to beautify and protect the city's first cemetery. In 1903, Mary Sutherland and a group of influential Corpus Christi ladies who were members of the Women's Monday Club successfully raised the money to build the Ladies' Pavilion on the bayfront. It was located where the People's Street T-Head now stands, and it replaced the old Market Hall as the city's primary auditorium. For 13 years, the pavilion hosted conventions, stage productions, concerts, dances, and private parties, but it was destroyed in the 1916 hurricane. Mary was also an influential member of the volunteer fire department, spending her time organizing the annual Firemen's Ball and hosting many suppers for the firemen. What could be her biggest contribution to the city of Corpus Christi was the 1916 publication of her book called The Story of Corpus Christi, the very first written history of the city and its people. Having lived in the city since 1876, Mary Sutherland knew or had personally known many of the city's earliest pioneers, and she'd taken a keen interest in the city's growth and development. Her book contained stories that Mrs. Sutherland had collected for more than 30 years. Only a few thousand copies were initially printed, and all proceeds from its publication were donated to charity. The book has been out of print for decades, but reprinted copies are fairly easy to find.
Mary Sutherland died in 1930. She was 80 years old, and she's buried here at the old Bayview Cemetery, right next to her husband. If you'd like to find out more about Mary Sutherland, all you have to do is scan the QR code you see on your screen, or you can just go to our website, christv.com, click on the Coastal Bend History tab, and you're going to see all of our stories, including this one. Until next time, I'm Andy Lascano.
Hey there, good morning. We are feeling cool now, but look how quickly that trends to a hotter kind of day ahead of us. By the time we reach lunchtime, we are going to be in those middle 80s, which is typically where our daytime heating would find a stopping point. But we're going to keep things going into the afternoon. Winds will pick up a bit and temperatures will rise to those lower 90s today. That's our benchmark for the week. That's where we're starting our heat wave this week, and uninterrupted sunshine is going to continue throughout the afternoon, something to enjoy. But even with a lower heat risk today, 1 out of 4, make sure you're staying hydrated. Tomorrow we pick that up to a moderate heat risk for most neighborhoods of the Coastal Bend. And Wednesday, extreme inland portions of the Coastal Bend, the brush country, will see 3 and 4 out of 4 for that heat risk. Extreme heat risk noted there in purple. So please be careful. We're going to be challenging record high temperatures through about Thursday of this week. It gets hotter than this, yeah, but I think tomorrow we'll smash that record pretty easily. So here's a look at that 7-day forecast. We'll top out at 97 degrees on Thursday afternoon. Near record sweltering heat expected.
From Chris 6, this is 20 minutes of non-stop news.
Thank you so much for joining us for our 20 minutes of nonstop news with the Hoffmans. I'm Brian Hoffman.
And I'm Michelle Hoffman. We'll check in with meteorologist Stephanie Lauber in just a bit. But first, we have some neighborhood news to get to.
That's right. 2 teenagers have been arrested following a fatal shooting that happened over the weekend. So it all happened around 12:30 Sunday morning near Sherrill Drive. When officers arrived, they found a 37-year-old man dead from a gunshot wound. According to detectives, a group of men began arguing when one of them showed a handgun. The men then fought over that handgun, and during the fight, the victim was shot. 17-year-old Michael Gonzalez and 17-year-old John Salazar were arrested for murder and transported to the city detention center for booking.
A Port Aransas man was arrested following a fatal accident involving a golf cart. It happened Saturday near Beach Marker K. 61-year-old Heather Miller of Port Aransas, the driver of the golf cart, was pronounced dead at the scene. 41-year-old George Behrman of Port Aransas, the driver of the car, was arrested and charged with intoxication manslaughter.
And hey, neighbors are invited to the groundbreaking of Alice ISD's Memorial Stadium. It'll take place this morning at 10 a.m. Construction is expected to be completed on this one by May of 2026. The old Alice Memorial Stadium was demolished in December of 2024.
All right, if you're going to be one of those folks heading up and out the door, it is looking to be a pretty nice morning. Not bad for the view over the Harbor Bridge here. As seen from the WADA Skycam, should be a lovely start to our Monday morning. It's even feeling pretty cool out there, but don't let that deceive you. It is going to be a hot one. You'll be using that Max AC button in your car for the ride home this afternoon. But at least as far as the commute goes, not seeing any issues. We're looking good between Portland and downtown Corpus Christi along 181. And for coming down 37 or across 44. We're starting to see that activity building up on that crosstown interchange. Backups don't go too far, so that's good at least, but expect some slowdowns there. Across Corpus Christi proper, from the Bay Area to the south side, all of the major thoroughfares are looking good otherwise, and that carries on over into the Bluff, where the approach to NAS Corpus Christi is smooth, and we just see a little bit of activity, the usual stuff on Waldron Road. If you're heading out to the island, you can expect a smooth ride here as well, all the way up 361. So as you head out this morning, make sure you stay safe and you drive safe. That's a look at your traffic report. I've got your weather on the 6s ahead.
Now, 6 things to know before you go.
All right, we're going to show you the 6 things you need to know before heading out the door.
Yes, today the City of Alice Solid Waste Department will start picking up debris from last week's storm. Brush crews will be out working from Highway 44 or Front Street South to Cecilia Street. Once finished, they'll work the area between South Reynolds and South Cameron. Additional crews will be sent out to areas as needed to remove roadway hazards.
And in Bishop, storm debris pickup will also start today. Neighbors are being asked to put their debris out there on the curb for pickup. Please make sure that all limbs and brush are smaller than 4 feet long. Tree trunks must be cut no longer than 2 feet long. The 6-yard limit, well, that's not going to be enforced this round.
The Coastal Bend Food Bank will be hosting a mobile food distribution bank this week. It will take place tomorrow from 7 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. or while supplies last. To pre-register, call 361-887-6291. On-site registration will also be available at 6 a.m. Only new neighbors need to pre-register. The Coastal Bend Food Bank is at 5442 Bear Lane.
And the Corpus Christi Cathedral will be closed for renovations starting May 26th. The last Mass before the closure will be the weekend of May 24th and 25th. Starting May 31st, the Emmanuel Chapel will be used for daily Mass. All weekend Masses will be transferred to Sacred Heart Church, located at 1322 Comanche Street.
Construction near SPID continues this week. The Airline Road intersection will be closed from 8 p.m. tomorrow until 6 a.m. Wednesday, and the Staples intersection will be closed from 8 p.m. Wednesday until 6 a.m. Thursday, so crews can also construct a median island, and that's the whole purpose of all the closures.
2 daytime closures are also scheduled for some roads in Portland on Tuesday. 1 lane of US 181 southbound frontage road turnaround at FM 2986. Well, that's going to be closed for maintenance work. The center 2 lanes of FM 2986 will be closed to allow crews to work on the US 181 overpass. You get all that? Well, detours will also be in place, and all the work is, of course, weather permitting.
Well, it's going to be a tricky one to do much outdoors the next couple of afternoons. This week, we are kicking off a May heat wave across the coastal bend, and it may not seem like that's the case right now because it feels good outside. It's a very nice start to our Monday morning, but yeah, we're going to turn things up on that thermometer going through the afternoons, each of the next couple of afternoons. In fact, today's the benchmark and it's still hot. You can imagine where we're going by the middle of the week. We got a lot to talk about, so let's hop into what's going on right now. A beautiful sunrise over the coastal bends, as seen here from the WADA Skycam, and temperatures are feeling pretty comfortable outside, even a bit cool. We are seeing that report of fog in Alice with 55 degrees, our coolest temperature around. It's got visibility down to a half mile there. Everyone else doing okay, and we're relatively dry. So that means these wonderful temperatures we're seeing in the 50s and 60s this morning will be allowed to climb easily this afternoon, and it's going to take us pretty far. Between here and the lunch hour, we are going to be getting to the middle 80s. So taking your pup for a walk, easier to do for the first half of the day. Choo Choo is our star for today with that smile and beautiful long ears. Yeah, we are going to have to go for that walk earlier. That way we could take a longer walk. This pup looks excited for it, but during the afternoon that's going to be tough because already by lunchtime, getting to around 85 degrees, that's normally where we stop on a day like this. May, our high temperatures are usually in those middle to upper 80s. 90s usually come in June. Middle 90s, July, August. Well, this week is going to be a challenging one because as our temperatures top out in the lower 90s today, that's already warm for this time of the year. So our heat risk is in mind, but it's a 1 out of 4, so it's a lower end of the scale. Tomorrow, bam, we're going to kick that up a notch where we have a moderate heat risk shown here in orange for most of the coastal bend. Wednesday, little more humidity in the mix with those hot temperatures means we are looking at the top of the scale. Major to extreme heat risk for extreme inland portions of the coastal bend. We're talking Duval, McMullen County seeing the worst of the heat on Wednesday. So we definitely need to keep things top of mind, but also a concern for all other neighborhoods in the coastal bend. So we'll be challenging record high temperatures each of the next couple of days. Today, I think we'll stay just shy of that 2017 record, 94. I'm going 93. But tomorrow, my forecast high is 96 degrees. That should easily beat the record set last year of 93. And then we'll be going toe to toe with Wednesday's record of 97, also set back last year. I think we'll hit 96, and Thursday we should be hitting 97. So we'll keep it near the records all week long. But tips to help you beat the heat? Well, you need to stay hydrated. Eating lighter meals can help your body tolerate this heat. And of course, it's Monday. You might need an extra tall coffee. Make sure you have an extra tall glass of water to go with it. Stay in that AC as much as possible. If you work outside, hop in the work truck and run the AC. Wear lightweight clothing. Light colored clothing tends to help. Keep your curtains closed and your blinds closed at home to keep that AC heating cost down, and set your ceiling fans to rotate counterclockwise. That'll help keep that hot air up by the ceiling and cool air down below. But yeah, it's going to be a hot one all week. Do your best to stay cool. Check on children, pets, and the elderly. They are most susceptible to heat-related illness, and we'll be dealing with this heat wave all week long.
Alrighty, Steph, thank you so much. The Food and Drug Administration has announced a new screening tool for cervical cancer. The FDA has okayed an at-home test that will allow patients to collect their own samples for screening. After a woman collects her sample, she would then mail it to a lab for testing for HPV. Now, most cervical cancers are caused by HPV, and screening can help identify women who may be at risk of developing cancer. Normally, women who get tested for HPV, they get tested in a doctor's office. Data from a clinical trial showed that at-home kit had the same accuracy for cervical cancer screening as when a doctor collected a sample.
Interesting. Well, hey, the FDA has also approved new food color additives after a push to remove harmful artificial coloring. So they are a Gladoria Extract Blue, butterfly pea flower extract, and calcium phosphate. So Gladoria Extract Blue, that's a type of red algae that's found in volcanic hot springs or large craters, rather. Butterfly pea flower extract is a blue color. Calcium phosphate is white and also has been approved to use in chicken products and candies. The recent push for natural dyes stems from health concerns surrounding artificial coloring, including an increased risk of cancer.
Listen up, folks. In consumer news, Yamaha is recalling nearly 40,000 power adapters because they may pose a burn and fire risk. The AC power adapters were sold with the company's digital pianos and music workstations. The company says they can overheat and ignite, posing burn and fire hazards. The model number for the recalled power adapters is PA300C. They were sold at music stores nationwide and online from September 2010 through November 2014. Now, consumers are being urged to stop using and unplug the power adapters and contact the company for a free replacement. Now, Chipotle is planning on expanding its footprint both in the U.S. and Canada. The Mexican Grill restaurant says it's opening more than 300 locations this year. 80% of the stores will include a drive-through Chipotlane for digital orders. Chipotle says 57 company-owned restaurants have already opened during the first quarter of 2025.
I might eat more Chipotle if a drive-through option came here. Well, hey, be careful when buying a car from a private seller that no one has altered the vehicle's identification number to disguise a stolen car. It happens, folks. Scripps News Group consumer reporter John Matarese has advice on how to avoid becoming a victim of VIN swapping, so you don't waste your money.
You may think you're getting a great deal on a used car when you buy from a private seller, but for one couple, it was all too good to be true.
Now looking at it, I'm like, okay, now it probably looks fabricated to a degree.
John Tibbs shows the $30,000 Albatross he and his wife Michelle can't drive.
So we were on Facebook Marketplace. We had been looking for a couple weeks.
They say they found this 2021 Chevy Suburban below market value. So they met the seller, had a mechanic inspect it, even ran a Carfax report.
We went on Carfax and we typed in the VIN.
With a clean Carfax from Michigan, they decided to buy.
We paid $33,500. Cash.
But when they went to the DMV to get plates,
the title, when they typed it in, it wasn't matching.
The title was fake. The Suburban allegedly stolen.
We were shocked.
Michelle and John were victims of the newest motor vehicle crime, VIN swapping. Police believe the windshield plate and a door sticker were changed to match a similar car. Attorney Mike Simkus suggests having a mechanic use an OBD2 reader, which connects to the car's computer and will give you the car's real VIN.
Match it to the engine firewall or to the door or the windshield. Those should all match.
Some red flags that the VIN has been tampered with if the odometer reading doesn't match what's in the Carfax report, if the VIN on the title doesn't match what's on the car, or you see signs that the VIN plate might have been altered. Attorney and law professor Danny Karen cautions using Facebook Marketplace to buy a car.
People are totally unaccountable. You don't know who you're dealing with. You don't know what you're getting.
Carfax told us the Tibbs SUV does not qualify for their buyback program because the SUV had not yet been reported stolen. Michelle says the seller's Facebook page, meantime, is gone, his phone disconnected.
A burner phone or something like that.
You can't reach him.
Can't reach him at all.
They now want to warn other buyers to beware deals that look too good on social media so you don't waste your money. John Mattery, Scripps News Group.
Here's a look at what's trending now. Netflix is making some changes. Not the prices this time. The streaming giant announced a major facelift of its homepage. So it's been the same since 2013, and the freshened landing page will move the main menu from the left-hand side of the screen to the center. Descriptions of content will also be compacted with more personalized viewer recommendations. Netflix says it will also begin testing generative AI-boosted search along with a vertical video feed, TikTok style, for mobile users. Viewers can expect to see the updates over the next few months. I don't know how I feel about changes because sometimes I'm like, it takes me a while to get used to it.
But at the same time, I feel like you, of all people, may actually enjoy some of these changes because she will sit there doing her makeup for like, half an hour every morning watching Netflix on her phone.
That's generous, saying half an hour.
Yeah, that's very generous.
Not calling out.
She doesn't need it though, folks. But yeah, sitting there, having that vertical feed, you might like it.
He made me a new phone stand too with his 3D printer, so it's actually very convenient.
Saga continues. I'm going to out myself here and say I just signed up for Netflix last week.
Hey, welcome to the fold, Miss Love.
I have watched Netflix before, but don't tell Netflix that because it was as a guest on someone else's account. And I don't know what the equivalent for Passenger Princess is when you're doing the remote. Like Jake usually does all the streaming, and I just sit there and watch. So he wasn't home, and I had to be self-sufficient. And this stage of wifing was new territory for me. So now I have a Netflix account. I'm a cool kid, so I guess I won't really notice the changes till they actually happen. So, well, some change coming this week. It's about to be hot. We're gonna turn up the heat.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit of a runners-up this weekend with a lot of folks at the air show. We had some issues with heat-related illness out there, and it wasn't even quite that hot. We are going to be challenging the record high temperatures this week. Some of those records set just last year. So it is a warm-up that we deal with every spring, but let's try to get ahead of it this year and do better. Stay hydrated and take those breaks indoors to cool off. Here's the morning we are dealt this morning. It's gorgeous. We are feeling nice and cool out there for the most part, and sunrise just picturesque. Dealing with a little bit of that fog we saw on Alice, dropping visibility to about 1.25 miles, a little bit more than that. Now in Corpus Christi, visibility has not dropped, but seeing some of that haziness now. But throughout the afternoon, uninterrupted sunshine will take our cool temperatures in the 50s and 60s to the lower 90s. It is going to be hot, y'all. So if you're planning that dog walk, let's do it earlier this morning when it's cooler because pups like Choo Choo need to stay cool. Our four-legged friends, kids, the elderly, they are all susceptible, more so than anybody else, to heat-related illness. So, especially for that dog walk, let's plan that earlier. And if you want to take the kiddos with you, not a bad idea. But this afternoon, we need to stay indoors and stay cool. That's going to be the trend over the next couple of days because we're already going to reach what would normally be our afternoon high temperature around lunchtime. So, with a few extra hours of daytime heating, we'll get to those lower 90s. That's the benchmark for this week. We are going to really be off the charts heading into the middle of the week. So our heat risk for today, a 1 out of 4, a minor heat risk shown in yellow. Tomorrow, we take that up to a 2 out of 4, moderate heat risk. And then on Wednesday, the brush country is going to be a boiling pot, a swelter. 4 out of 4 for that extreme heat risk shown in purple, 3 out of 4 in the red. And we all need to make sure that we are staying mindful of those heat safety tips because we're going to be challenging the records. It's just going to be hot, no other way to put it. 96 tomorrow should break the record of 93 set just last year. Wednesday will be toe and toe with that 97 we set last year, but our temperature will be 97 on Thursday, so we're going to keep the record-breaking heat going. But to help you beat the heat, of course, stay cool. Today's Monday, you probably need a source of energy, whether it's matcha, coffee, energy drink. Pair that with an extra large glass of water. Stay in the AC as much as possible during the afternoon. I know some folks work outside. Hop in the work truck, run the AC. Wear light-colored clothing, keep your curtains closed, keep that energy bill down, and of course, set your ceiling fans to rotate counterclockwise. That'll keep the warmer air up above you, cooler down below. All right, 97 on Thursday. I don't know how to dress that up, but that's where we're at. Michelle, you are one of those who really likes this warm weather. Any advice you have for folks who want to be out and enjoy the heat and everything other than staying
sunscreen?
hydrated?
Yes.
Definitely some sunscreen,
Yep.
especially Brian. And of course, you got it. You said hydrate, drink water, so.
That's good tips.
Well, hey, thank you so much, folks, for tuning in. I hope you have a fantastic week ahead, and we will see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.